Greetings, good storytellers. I'm the Artful Narrator, and it is my privilege to welcome you to learning the tropes of writing. Today we are going to be discussing the Chosen One trope. Now, this is a trope that I have a, shall we say, colorful backstory with. Because, like the dead parents trope, it is a trope that dates back all the way into antiquity, and as such, has been used in some of the greatest stories ever told. However, it has also been used so frequently that it can border on the cliché if not implemented skillfully. However, whereas the dead parents trope, being more simplistic in design, more readily falls onto that cliché side of the spectrum, unless the writer takes greater care to either innovate upon it or to justify its place in the story by weaving greater significance upon the later narrative, as opposed to just using it as a shortcut to get around what are the hero's parents doing, or why isn't the hero staying home and working on the farm. Whereas with the Chosen One trope, there's still a lot of use that can be got out of it, but you need to understand how to avoid the pitfalls so that you can reap the benefits of using it without bordering on the trite. Now the Chosen One trope falls into a category of tropes that I would classify as writer's shorthand. These are tropes that are designed to efficiently either evoke an emotion in the audience or to, shall we say, motivate the plot in a manner that is concise, while still giving a sense that there is something larger going on here, that there is a sense of destiny at work, as opposed to this being just a quick and easy way for the writer to save themselves a little bit of work in the process of writing a story, which is a massive undertaking. Now, the benefit of using this trope comes in the form of, and it is the way that you often see this trope being used, is you have a protagonist who is designed to be a point of view character for the audience. They are relatively simple in terms of their status. They do not already have a lot of experience, a bit of an everyman or woman sort of character. And as such, they are not aware of the more, either magical or fantastical elements of this story's setting. And so, by virtue of their Chosen One status, they make themselves someone of such interest that it only makes sense that they are invited to be the guests of kings and prophets, and this way are allowed access into the halls of power, where they can meet the sort of fantastic characters that will be necessary to both help them fulfill the prophecy and also to render the story a vivid and exciting tale. But by doing this, you bypass a lot of the work that normally needs to go in to making this character of this protagonist interesting enough to merit getting into those more exclusive areas of the story. Normally, the sort of character development and this character, through their deeds and their own courage or strength of will, singling themselves out, making themselves recognized to the extent that they are afforded these luxuries. Instead, it's just, oh, you're the chosen one. Come on in. So that's the dangerous sort of area where you have to tread softly and figure out how you're going to go about doing this. Because if you lean into this shortcut too far, you end up with a problem where the other characters in the story are so much more interesting, and yet this one character is the chosen one, apparently, and yet there's just not that much about them. They're just not really that great a character. They suffer from generic protagonist syndrome, basically. So we're going to look at some examples of how to do this well. Now, the other thing that we need to touch on briefly to help to quantify this is we need to ask the question, is this a chosen one in potentia or an actualized chosen one? And what I mean by this is this a chosen one who is, the prophecy that speaks of them or whatever promises that they will do something that they haven't done yet. It, has recognized that this is indeed the person, but yet they are the chosen one to do something that they haven't done yet, in which case they are a chosen one in potentia. There is the potential that they will be able to do something, but not now. And these are the ones that can be the most prone to generic protagonist syndrome and to being just not that interesting. And it raising questions in the viewer's mind or the reader's mind as to why everyone else is so interested in them. Whereas an actualized chosen one is a chosen one who has something about them that already sets them apart. And the example I would use for this is Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, he is the Avatar. This is a proven fact. He can go into the Avatar state, and because of his status as the Avatar, he has the potential, like all Avatars before him, to learn each of the 4 different and bending arts, and to be able to master all 4 elements. Now, in the show, there is the added prophecy, the hope that as avatars in the past have done, that he will unite that world and help to defeat the Fire Nation. And yes, even though he hasn't done that yet, and he hasn't learned how to master these different elements, there is no question. It isn't, oh, well, who's this person? Why is he so special? No, he is the Avatar. Or there's potential that he still needs to obtain, certainly, but he is actualized. He is the chosen one. He is the Avatar. But a story that perfectly follows the beats of this chosen one in potentia, and all the questions of why is this character being allowed into these areas, this character is the least interesting person in the story, all of that I have for you in a good example, and that's a testament to how good that story is. And this is the Lego Movie. If you haven't seen it, maybe watch it first before you see the video. I'm going to give away a lot of spoilers. It is an immensely better movie than it has any right to be, honestly. Yeah. Now, in the Lego Movie, there is a prophecy that there's going to be a special, and the special is going to be able to destroy the Kraggle and be the most interesting, amazing person and save the world. Sound familiar? Sounds like 90% of the more cliched Chosen One stories. And now, you would expect that, maybe to bypass this, we'll have someone really interesting become this special. No, instead you have Chris Pratt's character of Emmett. He finds and the piece of resistance, and everyone's thinking, well, clearly you're the special. There must be something about you, and so all these different characters help him throughout the story. People like Wild Style, like Metalbeard, or what's the astronaut's name? Benny. Yeah, all these other characters, even as one note as Benny, the 1980s something space astronaut. Each of these characters that help him have significantly more personality than him, or more interesting characters than him. And honestly, if it wasn't that for the fact that he was voiced by Chris Pratt, Elliot would be just a blank slate. He literally is using the default Lego face. And yet, the movie is smart enough to actually make this a subversion of the trope. It plays the trope beat for beat, note for note. Looks like this could be a standard cliche Chosen One story, and then it reveals at the end, no. The prophecy was fake. There was no workings of destiny that brought this about. It was Morgan Freeman's character of Vitruvius simply using this as a way to give people hope. as a way to help to give people a chance to become, you know, to rise above what they think they can do and to accomplish great things. And in the end, Elliot sees this at first as something that is very disheartening. What, you mean destiny wasn't helping me? I'm gonna have to work to do all these things? It's not just supposed to happen? But no, he realizes something that many chosen ones don't realize, that it is all these other characters helping him that is making this possible. And whereas in other stories, you would question, well, was it really the chosen one who did all this? Because they only did it because all these people helped them. And also, would they have even done this if they hadn't read the prophecy or been told the prophecy, oh, okay, well, I'm the chosen one, I'm supposed to stop this evil. Well, I mean, I was kind of more focused originally on just making sure I got the harvest in on time, but I guess I can stop the evil. No, instead, that he makes a wonderful speech at the end that, yes, he's not the special, but that anyone could be the special. Everyone's special in their own way. And it acknowledges that it is the work of all these different characters within the story that is making this possible. And it is honestly brilliantly executed. A wonderful subversion of this trope. Playing it straight just long enough to lull you into a false sense of knowing where this is going, and then turning you on your head. And yet, if you want to use the trope without actually having, a subversion like that, if you want to use it in its if you want to use it straight, shall we say. Yeah, I would suggest that you consider character agency and take that into account. And what character agency is it is the question of how much agency does this character have within the story? How much ability do they have to, through their own strength of will, through their own desire, to accomplish something? Now, characters in Chosen One stories a lot of times appear to not have that much agency. It is the feeling that at best they are following in the footsteps of destiny, and at worst they are just a puppet that is being dragged along by the plot, dancing upon the strings of fate. However, stories where the Chosen One either is unaware of the fact that they are the Chosen One, or where the exact either faith in the Chosen One is questioned, or the exact parameters of what the Chosen One is supposed to do, where these are kept vague, it allows the character to have a greater agency to them, while still benefiting from a lot of the positive aspects of this trope, giving this character an increased sense of importance within the story, but yet not robbing what already makes them unique. Because a lot of times, characters that become the Chosen One sort of stop being whatever they were before. A farmer, a blacksmith, a squire, something like that, doesn't really seem to use the skills, the knowledge that they amassed before learning that they became the Chosen One. They just fall into whatever the Chosen One role is and do that. They cease to be themselves to some degree. They lose that agency. And a wonderful example of how to do agency right comes in the movie Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds. Now, again, going to be spoilers for this. This is, again, a movie that is significantly better than it has any right to be to some degree. You would expect it to be just a far more simplistic movie, but it pulls some nice... it does the extra work, shall we say. Yeah, and the end result is all the more beautiful for it. Now, in the movie Free Guy, Ryan Reynolds' character of Guy is a bank teller. He is an NPC in an online game. the game of, I believe it's Free City. And his role is that he wakes up and goes through the same routine every day. Goes to the bank. A player character robs the bank to get experience and loot. They say, hey, they put up your hands. He puts up his hands. They say, get on the ground. He gets on the ground. And yet, he has this feeling that, I feel like there has to be more. And he has this idea of this woman, the perfect woman, and for him, doesn't know what she looks like, but he knows that he'll recognize her when he sees her. And now, what was especially brilliant with this movie was the advertising, because several of the advertisements lead you to believe that this is going to be a standard Chosen One style story. Because you see he's walking along and suddenly this woman comes up. A Molotov girl, as her in-game name is, or Mia. And she pulls him aside and that's art. Everyone down, but no, except you, come with me. And he seems like he is the classic character answering the call to adventure. And yet, in stories, a lot of times the call to adventure is more of a conscription to adventure. Again, you get the feeling that the protagonist doesn't have a lot of agency involved in this choice to pick up the phone and to accept that call. And sure enough, here she thrusts a pair of glasses on him. Glasses in this setting are the thing that signifies you as a player character. It's the in-game, acknowledgement of the character's heads-up display. And as soon as he puts those on, suddenly he can see all the, vendor or icons of this is where you go to restock on ammo or see health pickups and all this different stuff. And she's like, there's something inside you, guy. I need to tell you, you're part of this video game and all this stuff. And it looks like the standard. She's going to be the magical, something I forget what it's called, but she's going to be nope, can't remember it. Not magical schoolgirl, that's a different thing, but it's going to come in and be the character that whisks him off on this adventure, and he's going to be just this everyman and sort of looking around and trying to figure it out as he goes. And yet that's not actually how the movie plays at all. The movie gives him a great deal more agency than that. Because we learn that that's actually a scene from later in the movie, when the game's been reset and his memory's been erased. How the story actually plays out is that, as I said, he has this feeling that there's got to be more, and I've got this idea of the perfect woman. And he sees Mia, he sees Molotov Girl. She doesn't give him the time of day, he's an NPC. It doesn't matter. She's a little bit surprised that he doesn't say his standard or NPC catchphrase, but doesn't. She has her own story that she's pursuing and her own things to do. And Guy, thinks about this. And he's talking with his friend, and his friend's like, come on, like basically it's this Romeo and Juliet sort of thing of she's one of the sunglasses people, man, and you can't, and we don't do anything with them. They're the ones in charge, and we just do what we're told. He's like, yeah, that's right. She's one of the sunglasses people. To get with her, I'd need sunglasses. And then the player character, I forget what it is, like 2:00 or whatever. The standard, now is the time for the bank to be robbed. Player character comes in to rob the bank, and instead of putting his hands up and getting down on the ground, instead he jumps over the counter and says, "I'm gonna need to borrow those glasses." He breaks out of his routine, takes the glasses, and ends up becoming a hero himself. And it isn't until later in the movie that she explains to him that he is a character in a video game. He just believes that, okay, there are these different, rules to the world that I didn't understand before, and she's shown me how to use those. But because of this, as opposed to being just a generic protagonist who's just sort of rolling through the story going, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. Instead, he has a great deal of agency. He does all these things in the story, and he motivates the plot, revealing to her later, through his ability to do this, that he possesses the code of one of the NPCs that was written and by a friend of hers back when they were designing a game that was later bought by a Taika Waititi's character who owns the Free City game. And even though he is ostensibly still a, just NPC, his code was written by this other friend, he still exerts a great deal of agency within the story. He causes all these different things to happen. And he isn't hunted initially because, oh, wait a minute, that I've suddenly learned that a little bit of the code would accidentally manifested into something, and this one guy, we need to get Blue Shirt guy. No, initially, no one even cares. He is given nothing. He earns all this, and that within the story makes him incredibly fascinating, because you see that all of this is through his strength of will, through his audacity to believe that he can be something greater than what he was. And the end result is that the greater person that he becomes is still a manifestation of him. He has become his greatest version, as opposed to merely becoming the chosen one. He is Blue Shirt guy, and he is a hero. And so if you want to use the chosen one trope in your story, give careful thought to that, to how this will affect your character's agency within the story, and allow them to, yes, benefit from the extra, sense of wonder that a story can evoke by having someone be a chosen one. But never lose sight that that chosen one is that farm boy, is that squire. Whoever they were at the beginning, they should still be to some degree at the end. It should be an evolution of their character, as opposed to a substitution. I hope that I gave you some food for thought with this, and that you will be able to use this trope in your story in a way that accentuates the positives and makes the story all the more interesting, instead of making a interesting story about a uninteresting protagonist. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope that this video was either informative, or at the very least, a pleasant diversion. Until next time.